Χαίρετε κυρίες και κύριοι, είμαι η Νίκη Λιμπεράκη και σας καλωσορίζω στη Μεγάλη Εικόνα απόψε από τα Τύρανα. Ταξιδέψαμε ως την αλβανική πρωτεύουσα για μια αποκλειστική συνέντευξη με τον πρωθυπουργό της χώρας, Edi Rama. Prime Minister, thank you very much for welcoming us in Tirana and for this exclusive interview for Mega.
It's a big pleasure always to welcome friends, and especially friends from Greece.
We're meeting today at a time of increased challenges globally. So I would like to start by asking you, what's your take on the current talks between the United States and Russia for the war in Ukraine, without Ukraine and without the European Union?
Listen, I think that we live in a revolutionary time. What is going on has the traits of a revolution. And we have to live with it and to react to it and to not complain and not think that the status quo we're used to can help us. And concretely, when it comes about that, my question is not about US or Russia, it's about Europe. So what Europe is doing, what Europe thinks or needs to do in these circumstances when US and Russia are talking and negotiating something that has to do with Europe itself. So this is the question. And more than that, I have to tell you that these are the occasions when I somehow feel for my friends and colleagues that are on top of Europe, because they have really difficult choices to make, and I don't envy them at all.
Do you agree with those saying that there is a lack of governance and leadership in the European Union today, especially in the fields of defense, foreign policy, and security?
Europe is the most amazing project of humanity when it comes to how the humans can organize themselves and how through politics something incredible can be built. But as it is, Europe looks like a patient with 27 doctors, which is not very securing image. And it looks like not only there are 27 doctors, but there are too many pathologists. So something fundamental should change. I'm not sure it can, but for sure if it will not, the situation can be even more difficult for Europe.
You think there is an existential threat to European Union?
Existential threat is a big word, but worse than the existential threat for Europe would be the threat of irrelevance. So becoming irrelevant can be damning for this continent and for whomever might have a responsibility in that.
You know, Prime Minister, a few years ago in 2016, you raised eyebrows by stating, I believe it was for CNN in an interview, that a possible victory of Donald Trump, it was prior to the first electoral victory of Mr. Trump, would mean harm to the democratic world. I was wondering whether today you still believe that or you have changed your view.
Listen, in 2016, my hairs were not all white, and I was younger, and he was not the president, he was just a candidate. But then he became the president of the United States, and I got to also see him in actions from close. And of course, I've changed my opinion. And more than that, again, I think if Europe will blame Donald Trump for its own situation, it will be a terrible mistake. Europe has walked or has drived with US as autopilot. It's time maybe to somehow switch it off and think about a totally different way to keep this strategic alliance, to strengthen this partnership, but to also adopt to the invitation of the President of the United States, which is change or die.
Albania, of course, is a NATO member, and there is a discussion now on whether NATO will be called to enforce and safeguard a possible peace deal in Ukraine. Would you be willing to send troops to enforce such a deal in Ukraine? We've seen the British Prime Minister, for example, saying, yes, we could do that.
Listen, I'm much taller than the British Prime Minister, but the country I lead is much smaller, and it's not for me to say what they should do. I respect them, and I modestly and humbly share my thoughts. But somehow being the Prime Minister of Albania in these situations is like a bless, because you don't have to take the big decisions. This being said, I believe that it's much more complex than that. Again, we should not be continuing in the linear thinking. We should understand the complexity, and we should do more than one thing. It's not just one thing. It's several things that we need to do. And of course, this is one topic for discussion. But it's more than that. It's much more than that.
You're a politician who was elected many, many years ago, promising the EU path for your country. Albania is a candidate state for the European Union. When do you believe that you will be a full member? And in this path, which is, in your opinion, the most difficult thing that Albania needs to change in order to fulfill the criteria for full membership?
Listen, the whole process is not easy, because negotiating with the European Union is very, very important and very challenging, because it's about changing yourself, adopting yourself, transforming yourself, and making yourself part of a much bigger mosaic. So you are just one part of the puzzle, but you should fit in the puzzle, and this means a lot of criteria, standards. It's a process of state building, democratic state building, and we have done a lot. Albania in these years has changed in many ways. I think just the fact that today we are not anymore the country that was seen by everyone like, wait a minute, because something is not okay there in a country where last year we ended with close to 12 million tourists. 12 million tourists for 2.5 million residents is quite a big number. We have the biggest growing airport in Europe. We have outperformed the Belgrade airport in number of passengers, so something fundamental has changed apparently. Our GDP has more than doubled in these years that I am in office. Our per capita income has more than doubled. And all this being said, we need a lot more to do. And the Russian aggression was helpful, unfortunately. We needed Vladimir Putin to see Europe wake up for good and to push this process. And now We have a plan together with the European Commission to end the whole technical part within 2027.
2027?
The technical part, and then it's the political part, and then is the ratification in various parliaments. So overall, my goal is that 2030 finds us together in the same big family.
So let's focus on our bilateral relations. First of all, how would you describe the Greek-Albanian relations currently? Because we're coming after many months which were a bit turbulent due to, or catalyzed by the case of Freddy Beleri. What would you say for today?
Listen, first of all, I think we still have the problem of being very old neighbors, but in the meantime being very young neighbors, because we had this blackout of 50 years, and our paths were completely split. Greece went through a horrible fascist dictatorship, but overcame it much earlier than us, who went through a horrible communist dictatorship. And Greece had the bless of the European Union and of some leaders that were really amazing, and so became a different country. Mm-hmm. While we came out from communism totally how you say, in a mutiny, you know, and our communism was much worse than the communism of other countries. So the reassembling of pieces of history and also the reborn life in our common courtyard has not been easy, because, as I said, very old neighbors, but also also young neighbors. So, in several occasions, we have been victims of this past.
And today, sir?
And we have had more than once the proof that we are very, very much the same. We are very much Balkanic, we are very much Mediterranean, we are very much emotional, and we are still very much hostages of our history. But for me, I have made a very clear choice, and I have always told people very openly that the history can be a big trap or can be a big source of moving forward. And so the challenge is to see the history with the eyes of the future and not the future with the eyes of history. So in this, I think this is what we need to do. And the relations now are okay. They always can be much better. They were bad for a while because of an issue that was very, very important for the Greek side, and for us was just one among many. And but we are okay now. Yeah.
Just to wrap up the Beleri case, Prime Minister, I've heard the now member of the European Parliament saying that he will take this case to the European Court of Justice. And I was wondering whether a possible ruling against your country would affect you in some way, the country or you personally. How do you see that?
Listen, we live in a democratic country, and of course Greece is a democratic country. Europe is a democratic family of countries, and the European Court of Justice is our courts, your court, everyone's court. So courts have to do what they have to do.
Okay. Now, it's been almost 4.5 years since the then Foreign Minister, Mr. Dendias, with your then Foreign Minister, Mrs. Chaka, if I pronounce it correctly, agreed to take our dispute regarding the exclusive economic zone to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Yet the compromise has not been drafted. I was wondering, why do we have so much delay, and whether you have a time frame for this process to be completed?
Yeah, because something else entered in the middle, and as you know very well, I told you we're very similar. There is a word when you cover in your bed,
yes,
and then you can burn the whole cover for one flea. You know?
So do you have a framework for the compromise?
I think we lost a lot of momentum because we started very well with when Kyriakos came to government. It was a really good momentum. We started. We had a very common view on all the depth and all the importance of our relation, and of course we wanted to move with some pending issues. For us, it's very important to give an end to this absurd law of war. Legally, we are in war.
But it has been abolished by
Carlos
Papoulias back in 1987.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, and needs to go away. Because what has happened is that we have signed a treaty of friendship, but the law is there. So we are both very close friends by treaty, and we are enemies of war by law. So this is a bit the schizophrenic relation we have as neighbors.
You're answering about that in a question that refers to The Hague and the exclusive...
I mentioned this as one of the...
Are you combining the two issues?
No, we have what we have discussed, and what I've always said, and what your Prime Minister has always said, is that we need to clean all remaining things from the past, and this is one of them. For us, is very important. The delimitation of the maritime area is another issue that we have to solve.
Is there any specific time frame for the compromise to bring the dispute to The Hague?
It's about both sides sitting and working, and not being distracted by things that happen and then keep us hostage for a long time.
But there's no change of stance on behalf of Albania. There's no second thoughts there.
Not second. We never had second thoughts about it. I lead a government that, in its program, since we were in opposition, has stated very clearly that our foreign policy has one of the pillars is the triangle of strategic partnerships with Italy, Turkey, and Greece. So Greece is a strategic partner, and we want to be very, very close and to do much more than we do.
You mentioned Turkey, Prime Minister, and as you know, there are some who say that Albania perhaps is delaying the process of the compromise and the dispute being brought in front of you're smiling, in front of the Court of Justice in The Hague, because this is something that perhaps Turkey does not want.
I smile.
Do you want to address this criticism?
I smile because also in this we're very, very much the same. During the unfolding of the case that blocked us for some time, I saw crazy conspiracy theories in the Greek media, and and of course here I'm used to that because we are also very creative in imagining what is behind. And the interesting thing about conspiracy theories is that they are not based in proofs; they are based in imaginations.
Just to be fair, Prime Minister, it was a political opponent of yours many years ago who said that Turkey made you, bring the previous deal, the 2009 deal to an end.
I said it. We are same in this, but the fact that these are not proofs to confront is just the conspirationist words and against my word.
So you deny
So I have only my word, and I'm telling you, that there is not only no relation between the two, no relation, not only never in all this long relationship, President Erdogan has mentioned me something like that. But as I said in the beginning, and as I repeat, my very, very clear idea and my interest and Albania's interest is to have everything set with Greece. We can do a lot together, and it's a pity that we are prevented to do as much as we can because of all this bullshit.
So just to wrap up this issue, no specific time frame or a schedule or a sense
No,
of...
it's about both parties having the same clock and working around the same clock, and that's it.
Is it easy to balance a strategic partnership with Turkey and your EU path, Prime Minister?
It's absolutely not only. It's not about easy. It's very necessary, and I also believe that although it's complicated, and I fully acknowledge it, relation between your two countries. But I believe that if Greece and Turkey would be in a strategic partnership, this would be amazing, because for sure the benefits of both from this partnership and the benefits of Europe for this partnership would be outstanding. I'm never ever sympathetic with the theory that the friend of my friend is my friend, the enemy of my friend is my enemy, and all this. We live in a world that is complex, and one of the things, by the way, Europe should do is to stop being so self-referential, is to stop asking from everyone to believe in the same things, to live in the same way, to do the same things for having friendship, because it's like with neighbors. You can have a neighbor that has another religion, has another color of skin, has another way of living, and you don't tell him, if you don't speak like me, if you don't think like me, if you don't live like me, we cannot be friends. You try to be friends because he's your neighbor. So I believe that we should be friends with as many countries as possible, with whom we don't necessarily share the same values, and also we should be positive about relations that are complicated. So sometimes they are complicated, but most of the times there are many things that can be done together. So we should agree to disagree. For example, take us and Serbia. We have a big issue between us, which has been an impediment for all my predecessors and for all the previous governments to have relation. And practically there were no relations. But Serbia is here, is in the region, is related to our brothers in Kosovo. It's very important for us to have a relation. And after 68 years, I visited Belgrade, and we have this disagreement. There is no chance that we agree on what is the future of Kosovo, but on the other hand, this should not be a reason to not do many other things.
Hopefully we'll get to that, but I would like us to focus a bit on matters concerning the Greek minority in Albania.
Everything you need.
We've heard reports about land grabs for tourism purposes. There are people saying that the aim of the Albanian state is, at the end of the day, to erase the Greek population from the area. How do you respond?
This is another bullshit theory, because it's not based on proofs. So I need to see proofs, because these are very heavy allegations, and they need to be based on proofs. And by the way, I had a very good interaction with an association of ethnic Greeks in the United States, whose origin or whose roots are in the southwest of Albania, and they were very much believing in this kind of bullshit. And I challenged them. I said, listen, you have your lawyers, you have your team, send them, and let's look at the facts and let's see where is the reality, and let's work together for whatever we need to do. Because as there are problems for the ethnic Greeks, are problems for the ethnic Albanians. So it's the same thing when it comes to property. But talking about grab is too much. It's really too much. Because there is no, first of all, there is no case so far. None. Zero.
You mean brought to justice?
No. Zero case when a property, a private property, has been taken by the government. There is no case. Secondly, all resorts or hotels or whatever has developed privately based on contracts. And if you see the contracts are with the owners of the land. Are
You're
not
saying they don't have the property titles. They're waiting for property titles. That's another matter concerning the minority.
This is part of the story. So, on one hand, it's not that they are not all of them they are not having. There are a lot that they have the property titles, and based on these property titles, they make the contracts, and so they take a lot of money. You know, there are parts of southern west of Albania, of our shore, that are much more expensive than Corfu.
And they are accordingly compensated.
What do you mean? They take money or percentage from every development. Otherwise, building permissions are not given, because for whomever is developing there and wants a building permission, is an obligation to show property. And the property is based on the papers of the people that own the land. It's not given by the government. So this is crazy. It's totally crazy. But I'm not denying that we have a problem, general problem, with the registration of property that is very complex to explain here. And that's why this is an issue from the very up north to the very down south. It's the same. So there is not a Greek minority problem. It's a problem for the citizens of this country and for property registration. We have made a lot of progress, digitalization and all this, but there is still work to do.
Prime Minister, I was discussing with Greeks from the area of Himara, and they told me that there is a petition from the Albanian Education Ministry in order to grant a permit for a high school to operate there, a private high school, so that children can continue their studies after Omiros.
No, this is another thing that is not accurate, because since long time, so since the first day I learned, and by the way, your Prime Minister is very much attentive to the issues of the Greek minority in Albania. I haven't seen one before with such an attention to every detail. Sometimes it's not very good for me, because I have to explain when the information is not accurate. But in general, I'm telling you, he follows personally, and chapeau. And since he told me that, I said yes. The only problem is that the Greek Ministry of Education should provide teachers, because we can give the permission to open a private school. Yeah, but it should be teachers, private or public. We have no problem with that. We can also have public. We have no problem with it. Listen, there is nothing like ethnic Greek problem in Albania. You know, it's nothing. There have been several moments in the long past which has which have been disgraceful for our side, but otherwise there is not a problem like that.
There are elections coming up in 3 months or so. Are you going to repeat your visit to Greece? Are you going to address Albanian people in Greece? Are you having plans to visit Athens?
I may go, but not in that way, because now is the process of registration of the people, because
they will vote
for the first time we have this, and now, it's more groundwork and of groups and people that try to inform and to help registration. So it's not about campaigning. I'm not going to go about campaigning. There is a plan, and I'm not sure when it will materialize, to go for a work fair. We are just making the case for them, for the Albanians in Greece, about possibilities to work in their former city, to work in tourism, in
Albania,
construction in Albania,
right.
yes. Because they have asked, they have no information, so we have prepared, and we have done it also for Albanians in Italy and for...
But no campaigning?
No, I'm not going to go for campaign.
You chose...
I've done it, so it was a beautiful event and difficult to repeat. We're very emotional.
You mean your speech in Athens? Or?
No, that event, there were so many people, because it was the first since so many years that happened, and it was very emotional.
I wanted to ask you something. You visited last November Thessaloniki, and you chose during your speech to say that Βόρεια Epirus as a term is a dead term.
No, I didn't say it during my speech, because I don't use my speeches to say things that are senseless.
Is this a senseless thing?
I answered to a colleague of yours after, in a press conference. I had a talk with Greek journalists, and a colleague of yours said to me what I think about Βόρεια Epirus. And for me, it doesn't exist. That's it. But maybe it's a way for you to describe a certain reality, but not for us. You know what is Βόρεια Epirus? It's like us saying southern Albania.
Athens has often said that Albania's EU path runs through Greece, and I was wondering how you interpret it as the Albanian Prime Minister.
Listen, for sure the EU path of every newcomer runs through every door of any old member or existing member. And by no doubt, Greece has a say, as everyone else. And more than that, as I said, Greece is more close for good or for bad, like every neighbor. But I want it to be only for good. So it's normal, It's normal. I believe that when Albania joins, for Greece will be a great thing, because we'll be more from the same area, and we will be stronger.
There is an issue, since we mentioned Βόρεια Epirus, as you know, decades ago.
But what does it mean, really?
No,
really, today, what does it mean? Tell me, what does it mean today?
It's not my place to give answers,
No,
Prime
today,
Minister.
what does it
this
mean?
is your interview. But as you know, there has been a bilateral committee examining some changes.
Because you know what is Βόρεια Epirus? It's like us saying southern Albania.
So, if I may, it's actually related to what you're saying. There was this committee examining possible changes in the school books of both countries. And from Greece, every term of Βόρεια Epirus has been erased from the school books. I've read, I have not seen the textbooks, but I've read that in Albania there are 2 school grades, 9th and 12th, I believe, and there is a chapter titled Albanian Territories in Greece.
Not that I know. And if there is such a thing, it's not right, because there are no Albanian territories. There are territories where Albanians used to live before, as there are territories where Greeks used to live before and still live in Albania.
So should it be erased
So
from
Albanian
school
territories in Greece is not the right thing to say.
Would you be willing to work forward?
I'm not aware that this exists, but if this exists, is in my understanding is absolutely not accurate, because then we go crazy, all of us, because we start looking in realities of the past, and we undermine our future. Our future should define how we look at history. So I look our future as being one as Europeans, and of course, having our fights, but as one. Not what does it mean, Albanian territories in Greece? I don't know what does it mean. I don't know what does it mean Βόρεια Epirus, by the way.
I've heard you in a very emotional tone to speak at the late Archbishop Anastasios' funeral. You've spoke a lot about his work here. I understand that the first years were not always easy between you and the late Archbishop.
With the Archbishop? No, with the Archbishop it was good. No, we had a fight, only one. But it was about architecture, it was not about anything else. We had a fight about
the church.
Fence. No, the fence of the church. So when it comes to architecture, I'm quite a difficult person. So we had a conversation, not a fight, about the church. As I had conversations about the mosque, so I'm not sure that building churches and mosques like they were built centuries ago is a good idea for our century, but this was conceptual. Then we had a fight about the fence, because I think fences around temples are blasphemy. Temples are temples, so you have to leave. And this was that, but then we laughed. So no, we were very good with him. What do you mean, no?
Is this a loss for Albania? Is his death a loss?
Listen, he was an incredible man, and his last interview, tells everything and makes everyone looks very small in front of him, and when I read this interview myself, although I repeat, we were good, but when I read this interview, I felt like this in front of him. And these kind of men are very, very rare, and and that speech I truly cared, because I owed him, and we Albanians owe him something very, very important, to kind of feel sorry for the mud, for the insults, for the totally unjust stones of words that were thrown towards him, just because he was Greek. And the way he dealt with it was majestic, because he never answered. But the way he passed the torch was amazing. So that's why I say, he came like a Greek priest and he left like Anastasios of Albania.
Who is investing in Albania today? you're trying to attract foreign investments. First of all, are there Greeks investing?
Not as much as I would like. Not as much as I would like. This is one of the regrets and one of the downsides of this relation, which even when it has been good, has not been focused on the opportunities. And it's crazy because, the coast, for example, and there are investors in the coast. But Greece has some people that has done very beautiful things, as has many people that have done ugly things and have destroyed a lot of beauty. But this
architecture-wise.
This is a Mediterranean sin. It's not just the Greeks. But there are things that are beautiful, so they should come. Instead of complaining who is investing, they should come. They should come. They should invest. They should do things because we don't have. On the contrary.
You have major projects underway. I've heard that you have granted strategic investor status to, among others, to Jared Kushner, who is the son-in-law, Donald Trump's son-in-law, and I've read that.
Or Donald Trump is his father-in-law.
Indeed as well, Prime Minister. Yeah. But there are two major projects, and one of them is one inhabited island turning into a luxurious resort.
Yeah.
Is there a time frame for these projects?
Listen, there are two projects he's involved. One is totally private. The other one is together with the state.
Is the Sazan Island?
Yeah, the Albanian government will have its stakes there as through our Albanian Investment Corporation. And the first one has advanced, so they have got the permissions, everything, so it's up to them now to develop. And the second one is much more complex because it's also a lot of infrastructural questions.
The island,
yeah.
I mean, right.
But the project is wonderful, and if it will happen, will be absolute.
You know that in the international press, not only for Albania's project, I mean, in general, some say that Mr. Kushner gets some leverage in his businesses due to the fact that his father-in-law is the U.S. president. Was that a source of concern?
First of all, when this thing has materialized, his father-in-law was not the president, but was an indicted person. I don't know in how many cases, but this is another story. So, of course, there were people that would bet that he would become the president. There were people who would bet he would never be back. But at the end, for me, was never a political thing, and was never because he and his wife are the son-in-law or the daughter of someone. Mm-hmm. And so I said it before, and I say it now. So it's about American investors with an incredible interest for that project, with very rigorous work in every detail. And by the way, although we do it only this way, but Jared told me, first thing, Prime Minister, everything should be by the book. And please, if there is something that may look like not very clear on any side, inform me, because it should be by the book. And they have followed by the book every step of the process.
There is a huge problem, not only for Albania. We had it as well in the previous decade during the crisis, with young people leaving the country, the so-called brain drain. I've seen the data from your census, and it shows that approximately 400,000 people have left Albania since 2011. And that's despite the fact that indeed your GDP has grown, your per capita has grown. How can you address this issue? Young people are leaving the country.
Yeah, this is not only this one, but it's also the fact that the demographic is changing. So the birth rate is going down. So which is also a sign of a better life, but less appetite to make children. Because as Lenin used to say, proletarians have many children because it's their only movie theater. But I think it's a process that is unavoidable. For sure, we have increased the economy and the per capita and everything, but on the other hand, Germany or Sweden or whomever else, Austria, are not far. So it's a new era. People want to live, want to try, but I think that the tendency will start to change, and we see some little signs because it's not anymore the Europe that it was, and it's not anymore the Greece that it was compared to the cost of living, because Albanians that went to Greece in the 90s or in the first years of 2000 before the crisis could work hard and also leave aside a lot of money. Today they cannot. They cannot, even for the Greeks, even for the Italians, even for the... So it's a more complex situation.
You mentioned Italy, and there was an agreement between you and the Prime Minister of Italy, Mrs. Meloni, for processing migrants arriving in Italy here in 2 camps in Albania. There were some objections by the Italian justice. I don't know how many people I've read, it's only a few that have come here, migrants I mean. And my question, Prime Minister, is why did you agree to that? Because some say that this is a sign that poorer countries are getting paid to do what wealthier countries do not want to do in their backyard. How do you address that?
No, this is not true, because we were not getting paid, and we didn't ask for money, and there is nothing in that for us except the obligation towards Italy that has been very, very good to us since day one of our getting out to the world, and has been there for us in difficult moments and didn't ask anything. On the contrary, paid to help us, to support, So they asked if it's possible, and we said yes.
You felt it as a moral duty?
It's a neighborhood duty, you know. We are neighbors. We need to do for each other. So it was a difficult situation. It was really difficult situation during this crisis we had with Greece. And when a fire happened in Greece, we sent all our people that we could send there, because, you know, we are neighbors. And we have been asked by other countries, by the way, we said no.
And the public opinion here, were the people positive to that plan?
They were not euphoric, but they were okay. You know,
how many people, how many migrants are processed there currently?
Currently none.
None?
No.
Okay. Do you believe it will work?
Because they have issues with the Italian courts. And,
are you abandoning the plan, or?
No, we have nothing. So they have built the facility. They have to bring the migrants, but the courts in Italy have blocked. So it's an Italian thing. It's not us.
Some months ago, Prime Minister, you announced a plan, a project, which is unique, and it also made headlines around the world. You said that you will establish a Muslim microstate here in Tirana for the Bektashi, and this would be the world's smallest country, something like a Muslim Vatican, some foreign media said. What's the idea behind that, and whether you're indeed still in line to implement it?
I'm very, very committed to implement it, and it's related to a very specific thing, that this community has been settled in Albania 95 years ago, and has claimed that Albania is the world center for them. They have a long history, but without going too deep in history, The point is that they have been very good to our culture, to our history, and unlike the others, like the Christian Orthodox or Catholics or the Sunni Muslims that have a big community also, they don't have partners. They don't have points of reference in the world. They are in their own. So when it comes to get help for whatever, they can't rely to bigger brothers or sisters. When it comes to educate their successors, there are no schools around.
The people here want that to happen.
So their community, the risk is that they can extinct, and this would be a big loss for our cultural heritage, for our historical heritage, and for our diversity. So it's like taking care of very special and under-risk flower in your garden.
When will it be established?
It's a process, because in the beginning it raised a lot of eyebrows. First of all, I have had many discussions before with people, and now, we are leaving some time to be, talked, digested, understood, and then of course it's a legal path to be taken, and then it's a parliament. So it's not something that can be done like doing the interview. That's why interviews are nice, because you don't need to have decision in parliament. I left first time Albania as a free man when I could go to Corfu. They asked me what I wished to do the day after. I want to see and touch forbidden books, and I want to see a priest. And by the way, I not only saw a priest, but I saw for first time a beard.
Prime Minister, just to close today's discussion, I've read somewhere that Greece, and Corfu in particular, was the first place you visited after the fall of communism. And I've read a story that when you went there, you have relatives in Corfu.
The first I visited as a free citizen, because I could leave Albania in two other occasions as a player of the national team of basketball, but this was not as a free man. I left first time Albania as a free man when I could go to Corfu. It was when the regime that was just in its fall delivered passports for people that had relatives abroad. And my mother had relatives there, so it was a chance to go. And when I went there, they asked me what I wished to do the day after, to go to shopping or have ice cream or whatever. And I said I want to go in a library, because in a bookshop, because I want to see and touch forbidden books without having to search or having to wait for someone bringing me one illegally. And I want to see a priest, because I never saw a priest. Yeah, never saw a priest, because religion here was forbidden in 1966, 67, and churches were blown up with dynamite, and priests were killed and imprisoned. So I never saw a priest. I said, I want to see a priest. And by the way, I not only saw a priest, but I saw for the first time a beard in original, because beard was forbidden in Albania. And the long beards I saw in pictures, or Karl Marx or Engels had long beards in our propaganda pictures, but long beard was forbidden in Albania. You couldn't have beard. So I met the priest and I was watching at his down hairs, and it was really quite fascinating.
Are you visiting privately Greece for vacation or for your relatives, if they're still today living there?
I wish I could do more, but unfortunately when I go there everybody knows me, and plus conspiracy theories, so I wish I could do more. It's a beautiful country, and I love the language, and I like the people, but...
Do you speak Greek?
No, I don't. I know only a few words, the sweetest and the worst, and the middle I am not aware.
Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, ευχαριστούμε θερμά που μείνατε μαζί μας ως αυτήν την ώρα. Ανανεώνουμε για την επόμενη εκπομπή. Η ευχή είναι πάντα ίδια, να μπορείτε πάντα να διακρίνετε τη μεγάλη εικόνα των πραγμάτων. Καληνύχτα σας.